What we have currently is a fraud. Because it's, the first section of the constitution say, we the people of Nigeria, the preamble of the constitution tells you that we the people of Nigeria came together. And there is no point in time where the people of Nigeria came together to adopt that constitution. So it's a fraud. So how then you tell somebody that he should not talk of secession under that circumstance? For me, the government is only postponing the evil day by suppressing those who seek to secede from the country. If you want to solve the problem, address it from the ideological point of view. Those concerns that people are raising, address it. Otherwise, we keep seeing a recurrence of people agitating.
Good morning, Mr. Matthew.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we can see back home that Nigeria is ideologically bankrupt. As North jubilate, meanwhile, the southern part of Nigeria are praying for Israel. Yesterday, we had a protest, and it was a poor show by the Nigerian people. However, the Nigerians, as of today, are either praying or jubilating for Israel or Iran vis-a-vis. I mean, Mr. Matthew, help me, what's your take to this matter?
Looking at the situation in Israel and the response of Nigerians with what happened between Israel and the Muslim world, I think it's very clear. Because Nigeria, the way it is, if you look at the south, is predominant Christians. If you go to the northern part of the country, you have a good number of them who are Muslim. I think that best explains the reason you see that division. You see Southerners, especially from the Christian community, Christian extraction, backing Israel. You see people from the north backing Iran, backing Hamas, and all that. I think it's not unexpected because it's not just restricted to Nigeria. It is the same thing anywhere you have Muslim community, you have Christian community. That determines where their perception lies. So I don't think it's a Nigerian thing. I think it's ideology, like you said, but it's not restricted to Nigeria. But looking at the protest that occurred yesterday, the way it happened, we took note of what transpired in Lagos State here. We understand that someone like Showore, who already before now promised to be on ground to lead the protest, was actually on ground. I think he deserves commendation. We took note of what transpired in Kano State, what happened in Rivers State, Abuja, where the police, the DSS, miscreants started suppressing people. Of course, from what I can understand, this is currently a repressive government, an oppressive government, because suppressing decent voices have no place in a democracy like Nigeria. There is no basis for you coming out to suppress people, not for their voice not to be heard. You have come up with your policies, your program, and people are saying we are not comfortable with this trajectory. So you cannot beat a child and ask a child not to cry. From what we are seeing, what the government is doing currently is like beating a child and asking the child not to cry, to hold back his cry. And I think that may get to a point where the child cannot continue holding back the tears, and if the child decides to burst out in anger, I don't think the government can contain it. Because it is quite unfortunate that the security agencies were going from street to street in Abuja yesterday, searching for protesters to arrest. As if protest is as if to protest is criminal. Whereas you have the likes of Toji Bello, wreaking havoc, taking territory, holding territory, and others. You have the killer henchmen, you have all the non-state actors. These police are being paid with taxpayers' money, roaming around the city of Abuja, searching for protesters to arrest. We need to ask, are we in democracy? Of course, I'm surprised that the Tinubu that led Radeco, that advocated for democracy, that this will be happening under his watch. Because he cannot feign ignorance. Of course, he's the commander and is the president and the commander of the armed forces. The buck rests with him. He cannot feign ignorance of what the police are doing in the streets. Nobody is saying people should go about wanton destruction of lives and property. Nobody is saying the protest should be violent. But how can you, police officers that have the mandate to protect lives and property, are the one hunting for protesters to arrest? Of course, Mr. Lee, if I tell you I'm happy and deceive myself.
Mr. Matthew, it seems you did not, you didn't hear what happened in Port Harcourt, because in Port Harcourt, I think that was even more.
They use talks.
Yes, they beat up protesters.
Yes.
They were bleeding from their nose.
I'm not unaware.
Because they were demanding
It's condemnable. I condemn it in its strongest possible term.
And this is the footballer that some people have been defending.
It's not unfortunate. I think what happened at the state level is because, you know, the government at the center have a way of giving out money to the state governors, perhaps to manage the hardship that people are passing through. But the problem is that it doesn't trickle down to the people. It doesn't even get to the recipients who perhaps need it. We are talking about the vulnerable, people who may be living below the poverty line. Of course, that would have been the target of government when you give out such money. But the unfortunate thing is that it don't get to them. And when it don't get to them, people are complaining. You are seeing government coming with a repressive tendency, bringing all further might on protesters, coming out, rolling out drums as if you want to fight war. The likes of Togi Bello is there, walking freely, government unchallenged. The other time, there was a video where though the military had denied that he didn't see the military vehicle, but he bought one. And by now, one would have expected that government will come in full force. The full wrath of the federal government might would have been on him. So for me, I must tell you, I'm not happy with this situation.
Well, Mr. Matthew, we don't know what to believe about this government that seems to be running a propaganda. Because a few days ago, we saw Bolo 3G probably seeking for negotiation with the federal government. But that could be a propaganda. Yesterday, so many backlash and so many, people have called the president a liar for his speech. He said that the Nigerian government has, by this time, paid all its ways and means, which has been fact-checked to be false. Also, the president said he's now paying 77,000 naira to the NYC coppers, and just recently, some coppers were posting online their payment receipt, which was still the 33,000 naira. Mr. Matthew, it seems this government is not stopping from governing us based on propaganda, and it seems the Nigerian people are okay by it. What's your reaction?
To be quite honest with you, I no longer believe this government. Because this is not the first time we'll be seeing broken promise. Ab initio, they made us understand that they were going to give out money to the vulnerable, to cushion the effect of hardship of government policies on them. They're talking about the 50,000 they promised to give to a good number of nano business owners. They're talking about the 1,500,000 as the case may be, they promised to give to small and medium scale enterprises. We're talking about $1 billion naira they promised to give to about central companies to galvanize economic activities as a way of improving our GDP and bringing more people to employable ventures. We are talking about rolling out vehicles that run on CNG. So the government have made all the promises and they are afraid to fulfill it. And they are seeing their failure of fulfilling it cause the consequence of it. And people want to protest, you are suppressing them. When they promise or when they say you want to give pay NYC corps members 70,000, I don't think I have any cause to believe him. Because except he's beginning to redeem his image by meeting up with all his promises, then going forward I can look at whether to believe them. For me, I don't think the president or the presidency or this government have done anything to make me start believing them.
Lastly, before I let you go, it seems the Biafran ideology is why the Igbos are so united, and there's this so much concerted effort to resist the incursions of the Fulanis in their land. I mean, we saw what happened over the weekend where a university was razed down by some army.
About Imo State.
Yes, in the Imo State. That cohesion, we don't see it amongst the Nigerian spirit. Because Nigeria lacks ideology.
Let me tell you that the Biafra of a thing is an ideology. Just like Evolution would say it oftentimes, that you can only win an ideology from a ideological point of view. And unfortunately, Nigerian states have refused to fight it from that ideological point of view. However, I look at it, if I am from Abo, for instance, I rise up tomorrow and say, we want to succeed because we are no longer interested in Nigeria entity. I don't think I've committed any crime known to law, whether locally or internationally. Except I go about it violently, wanton destruction of lands and property. That is where you can find me wanting. As long as I'm doing it within the base of the law, I don't think anybody can hold me to account for wrongdoing. Having said that, it doesn't matter anybody's opinion. You may not like the face of the Southeasterners or the Igbos. They have right to say we are no longer interested in this entity called Nigeria. And apart from that, God by providence never created Nigeria to be one entity.
Are you sure about that?
The reason is not far-fetched. Go look at providence, look at culture, look at people's language, look at people's.
But again, Nigeria is not the first country to have ethnic diversity. Or is it a situation of having bad leaders?
The issue is this: you may decide to come together even if you have different background in terms of ethnicity, language, religion, but it must not be through coercion. It must not be through imposition of constitution on the people. The ground that we have currently, which is the constitution, was imposed on Nigerians by the military, and you want to force everybody to abide by it. Look at the restriction that is going on in Kano. For northern senators to be saying they cannot settle for any other thing apart from Nigeria, and they know that the constitution has been so skewed against the south, so that before you tinker with any section of the constitution, you must get the express approval of the north because they have the number. And who arrogated the number to them? The same people who seize power by force and impose the constitution on the people. So how do you now continue under that circumstance? If we must continue as a people to live together as a people, we must have a people's-oriented constitution. We must have something like a constitutional conference, something like constituent,
something like the
assembly that is not political. That people will naturally come from different areas, every interest must be represented. So when you come to compromise at that level, you would have addressed every challenge Nigeria is facing. What we have currently is a fraud. Because the first section of the constitution says, we the people of Nigeria, the preamble of the constitution tells you that we the people of Nigeria came together. And there is no point in time where the people of Nigeria came together to adopt that constitution. So it's a fraud. So how then you tell somebody that you should not talk of secession under that circumstance? For me, the government is only postponing the evil day by suppressing those who seek to secede from the country. If you want to solve the problem, address it from the ideological point of view. Those concerns that people are raising, address it. Otherwise, we keep seeing a recurrence of people agitating to secede from Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew, for that A-class analysis. Always from an A-class analyst. Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Thank you for having me.